everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing some Christmas decor with you, DIY Christmas decor, and I'm going to share a stenciled snowman canvas. Now if you haven't already, be sure to follow me across social media. Those links are going to be down in the description box below. You can also subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button, and if you enjoy this video, please click the like button. It always helps. Now for my project today, like I said, I'm going to be using this is the 12 by 12 Mr. Snowman stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. Now, as always, all the supplies that I'm going to be using today, they're all going to be listed and linked down in the description box. So if you have any questions about mediums, paints, canvases I'm using, you're going to be able to find that information all down there. So I'm starting off with an 8 by 10 canvas. This is just a cheap canvas. And I'm going to start with just spreading a very, very thin layer of white gesso across the entire canvas. This is just going to prep it. I'll be adding some paints and things later on top of this, and I don't want them to soak into the canvas or kind of the canvas soak up all that color. So this just kind of preps it up, lets the paint sit on top and not sink so much into it, so I don't have to add so many layers of color later on. I'm using a foam brush to make sure that that's very spread out, nice and even coat, and then I will let this dry. Now this doesn't take too awfully long to dry, but you do want to make sure you give it enough time to dry. Now I'm going to go ahead and start stenciling. To do my stenciling today, I am going to be using makeup sponges. These are one of my favorite ways to get into really tight little places, and I'll be using a lot of different colors. So I don't want to cross-contaminate them. This is the greatest or the best and cheapest way I know how to do it. Now I am going to be using the Crafter's Workshop Heavy Body Acrylic Paints. These are really great on canvas, and you only need one layer of color, which I love. So again, I'm going to be linking all the colors I use down below in the description box. So if you have any questions about that, you can go ahead and find those down below. I'm starting off with some black, and I'm putting every color onto a palette. All my palette is a piece of cardstock, heavyweight cardstock that I've laminated. This is a cheap palette and it works great. I've used it over and over and over on so many different projects. So I just like to use this. I'm going to go ahead and mix in, or not mix in, but go ahead and start off with a little bit of orange for his little nose, his carrot nose. And this is why I'm using makeup sponges. First of all, they're very cheap. Second of all, they're readily available. You can cut them apart. You can make smaller little pieces. So across this entire stencil, I probably only used 2 makeup sponges. I just kept cutting up little bits and pieces because I need to get into those really tight spaces. This works especially well. Now for each little space, I'm coming in with a color. So for the band of his hat, I used some yellow. For the holly leaves, I used a little bit of green. Then I'll come in with some red across the little holly berries on his hat. Now over on the left, there's that little bird. I added a black eye to him, and I'm also going to color him in with some red acrylic paint. There, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then for his little eyes, his hat, his smile, and his little buttons, I guess you could call them, on his little tummy, I went ahead and colored those with some black as well. Now the scarf, I'm going to go ahead and use some more of that red on. You could really go in with a lot of detail here and add different colors if you wanted to, but I just really like the idea of a bright red scarf. So that's what I'm going to do here. Of course, this is completely customizable, so what you see I'm doing here, you can switch this up, use different colors, use different mediums, however you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and you've seen my head there. I really need to get in tight to some spaces and really get on eye level to see where some of this paint is going. So don't be afraid to get right in there, get up close, see where your paint's going, so then you don't have so much cleanup later on. Now once I had his scarf, I hadn't finished the little band on his hat because it started to pull in a little bit of black. So I came back in once that black had dried a little bit, and I added some more of that yellow right on top of there to help cover that up. I'm also going to add a few more layers of paint wherever I think it needs it, and just tap in some more here and there. Now with my motion, I'm doing an up and down pouncing motion, not a rubbing motion. This way the paint is going to stay locked in that stencil and it's not going to run underneath. For the arms, I did mix my own brown there. I used a mixture of red, orange, and a little bit of green to create this color. So I just used the colors I had on hand and mixed up my own color. That's something else you can do if you only want to buy a red, a yellow, and a blue paint and maybe a black and a white. You can always mix up your own colors too if that's something you like to do. For the brown, I went ahead and did his little arms, and again, just using my little makeup sponge and pouncing that up and down right in that stencil to get into all those little cracks and crevices and color in his arms. Now for the snowflakes in the body, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to use the Light and Fluffy modeling paste, but this is white. My canvas is white, and I put white gesso on top of it. If I was to just use this, you would get some of that dimension, but it would kind of blend into the background a little bit more than I want it to. So I went ahead and grabbed out some of the shimmery goodness from the Crafters Workshop. I love this stuff. It's exactly what it says it is. It's just a clear medium that has a lot of shimmer in it. So you can add this to your acrylic paints. You can add it to your gessos. Here I'm adding it to my modeling paste, my Light and Fluffy modeling paste, and I get this gorgeous, gorgeous shimmery paste that's ready to go on. I'll show you a close-up of this once I get it through the stencil. But you want to give this a good mix. I'm using a smaller palette here, and I am using a palette knife just to give that a good mix. And then I came in and added this through the little snowflakes all around the snowman, and I'm going to add it to all of the places where the snow is. So along the bottom where the hills are, and all around the snowman. So his face and his little body too. You do want to be pretty careful with this. Make sure your paint's a little dry so you're not mixing in any paint with this. You want to keep it a nice white and a nice bright white and not mix in any of those colors with it. I'll go ahead and finish up with just a few little places here, and then I came in and did the face last. Now this is where it's the tightest. I am using a very, very small palette knife. If you have any places where you just can't get into it with your palette knife, you can always come in with your finger and smooth that out, and it will look just as well. Here you can see I had a little bit too tight of a space, so I just started using my finger and kind of smoothing that out, and it worked better than my palette knife trying to get it in there. Now once that was done, it was time to take off the stencil. Don't worry about the paint or anything drying on it. You can get that off with a brush later on. So I removed that, and there I've got this gorgeous little snowman stenciled on my canvas all ready to go. And just by adding that little bit of shimmery goodness to the light fluffy modeling paste, it really helps it pop away from that. Now on the hat, I had a little bit of a mess up. I just used more gesso to go ahead and fix any little mistakes where the paint might have bled underneath the stencil. There is a closer look at it all finished, ready to go, and one final look at it on the canvas. Now like I said before, don't worry about the paint drying on the stencil at all. All I did was take this to my sink and use a very, very light hand with a little bit of a scrubby side of a sponge and a little bit of Dawn dish soap, and that took all of it right off. My stencil looks brand new, nothing stuck at all. There's a closer look at that shimmery goodness too. I just love the way this turned out. But that is going to do it for me today. There are going to be links on the left side of your screen you can click on. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, you can do that over there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting.